Good morning and good afternoon to EVBN's webinar on the water and energy sector in Vietnam. Welcome, everyone. I would just like to run through the agenda first. We will start with a presentation by Ms. Hung from the Ministry of Construction of Vietnam, telling us about the drainage and sewerage system as well as wastewater treatment management in Vietnam. This will be followed by a presentation by Mr. T, consultant for the International Finance Corporation, IFC, on market information and legal aspects in the energy and water sectors in Vietnam. And we will close the thematic presentations with Mr. Gavin Smith with a presentation on solar energy as well as the so-called Solar Hub project from Dragon Capital Group. And this will be followed by a quick introduction about EVBN and our trade mission to Vietnam in November. We will then have the chance to answer questions in the Q&A session, and then we will be closing. I hope you enjoy. Thank you very much. And
good morning and good afternoon, everyone. My name is T. Today I would like to present the business opportunities in green technology in Vietnam with focus on water, wastewater, and energy sector. My presentation will be in 5 points. First point, I will give you some key facts about Vietnam, and then the water and energy regulatory development. Next, I will present the market size of green technology in Vietnam in terms of investment demand. And the next one, I present available funding source for investment in this project. And the last one, I will mention some business opportunity in the green technology in Vietnam. So, Vietnam is a country located in Southeast Asia, and we have more than 331 square kilometers with more than 90 million population living in 63 cities and province. But of these 63 cities and province, there are 5 larger cities, including Ho Chi Minh City, Hanoi, Hải Phòng, Cần Thơ, and Da Nang. And of these 5 largest cities, already 21% of the population living over there and contributed 77% of GDP of the whole country. So you could imagine this city could be a very high opportunity for business in Vietnam. About water, for nationwide, the country produced more than 6.5 million cubic meter of clean water a day last year, and the installed electricity capacity is 34 gigawatt in 2014. The next one will be the regulatory development of water. The country issued the law on environmental protection in 2005, and then in 2007 they have 2 decrees to encourage the private sector to invest in clean water supply and wastewater sector. And the next year, 2008, they have the regulation to attract more private investment in infrastructure. And following that flow, they issue some more regulation to attract the private investment in water and wastewater. And the most recent one is the circular on water tariff framework for the whole country. About the regulatory development for energy, Actually, the country have the electricity law from 2004, and then 2008 they have the regulation on avoided cost tariff for applying for small hydropower, and they also have a standard PPA for small hydropower plant. That really the incentive to attract investor to invest in small hydropower in Vietnam. And then in 2010 they issued the renewable energy development plan, and the next years they issued the national power development master plan number 7, and also at the same years they issued the mechanism for wind power development. This is the first mechanism for renewable energy development in Vietnam. And in 2014, they issued 2 other mechanisms to to promote renewable energy, including biomass power and solid waste power generation. And this year, they just revised the National Power Development Plan number 7. They already increased the target for renewable energy development for the country. So that is very quick about regulatory development in energy and water. And now I will focus on the market information about water sector. You know, in the country there are 6.7 million cubic meter per day of clean water produced by 420 water plants, and totally there are 500 water supply systems in the country. But the non-revenue water rate are quite high in Vietnam, that are 25% in 2015, meaning the non-revenue water value is about $200 million last year. And the urban water coverage of water supply is more than 81% last year, and the average tariff of the water is 32 cents in 2015. About the market size of water supply, it's estimated that the investment demand until 2020 is $6 billion until 2020, including major cities like Ho Chi Minh City, Hanoi, and other province and city. And even only Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi already represent 70% of the market share in Vietnam. So it means that if you consider to do the business in water sector, Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi will be the first choice for you to consider. About wastewater investment demand, it's estimated that the market size is $10 billion until 2025. And again, the demand are quite high in Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi. For Hanoi, the investment demand is $5.7 billion, and for Ho Chi Minh City, the investment demand is $4 billion, and other province and city like in Mekong Delta, there are also high demand on investment of wastewater treatment. About non-revenue water, even it is small, but the country have the national plan to reduce non-revenue water, and they plan to invest about $500 million until 2025 for non-revenue water project. And the high potential cities to focus on non-revenue water are Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi. Next one, I will present the market information on electricity. The statistic recently by IDB showing that the electricity consumption by sector is increasing by industry, and currently the industrial sector account for 50% of the total electricity consumption of the country, and it is increasing. And like already mentioned before, just this year the government issued the revise of power development master plan, and they set the high target for renewable energy. This slide showing that the investment demand for renewable energy will be more than 25 gigawatt from 2014 until 2030. That means the investment capital will be around 40 to 50 billion US dollar in 16 years. That means around more than 3 billion US dollar per year for renewable energy only. For the total electricity investment demand, that will be around 10 billion US dollar per year. And with this updated development plan, solar power will be the emerging sector, and later on we will have the presentation by Gavin about solar. And in this slide you will see that the solar power installed capacity target for 2020 will be 850 megawatt, and then 10 years later will be 12,000 megawatt. So that is really high target for solar, and this is really good for Vietnam because Vietnam is has high resource for solar. So I believe solar will be the emerging sector for the investment. And the key motivation for green investment, one of that could be the electricity tariff, and this showed the study by Dragon Capital last year about the rate escalation rate of electricity tariff, and following that that forecast, renewable energy will be more attractive to the investor. So what are the available programs to support green technology in Vietnam? There are so many programs like Aerotram. They have the Green Road Business Sector Committee with focus area on renewable energy, energy efficiency, and some other related green business. For GIZ, they also have the renewable energy and energy efficiency program. They have the project of support to invest in wind power. They also have the program to promote wastewater and solid waste management in Vietnam. Another program, other program funded by USAID, like Lower Mekong Initiative, Vietnam Clean Energy Program, and Vietnam Low Emission Energy Program. Other program carried out by IFC to focus on promoting of eco-efficient industrial zone in Vietnam, to help the company and the industrial zone to build the efficient business model in Vietnam. And with this project, IFC will have to implement 5 pilot zone of eco-efficient model, and also IFC will support to promote other renewable energy investment like waste heat recovery in the cement sector, or solar PV, and also biomass combined heat and power at rice mill. About the water funding available in Vietnam, it comes from the international donor and also private sector. Some well-known donor like the World Bank, ADB, JICA, and some other European country. From the private sector, Manila Waters is very active in Vietnam. Aquatico, they just exit from a deal invested with Vinaconet in Hanoi. For local investor, the well-known player here are CII and Saigon Water. About energy funding source in Vietnam, also the World Bank, IDB, IFC, AFD, NIDO, JICA, USAID, and some other local program. There are some other trust fund to provide guarantee for the investment in clean energy and energy efficiency project funded by the Danish government and the Switzerland government. And also there are several private equity funds like Dragon Capital here where Gavin comes from, and also some other private equity fund like Equis Fund Group, Armstrong, or Asia Climate Partner. So with this mention about investment demand, the regulatory framework, the available funding source, so what will be the business opportunity? I believe with this high investment demand, the financing, investment into the green business in Vietnam is quite high potential. And going together with the investment could be the financial service, including investment service, insurance service, and some other advisory service. And the most important thing for the implementation of the green investment will be the technical service. That could be the equipment supply or EPC service, and some other related consulting work. And also a very important thing that could go along with the investment are the legal service. So that very short about my presentation. So I'm very open for any question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. T. We'll take questions after all the presentations, and we will now move back to the first presentation of from the Ministry of Construction of Vietnam about the drainage and storage system and wastewater treatment management in Vietnam.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Thảo Hương from the Ministry of Construction. I'm working for Administration of Technical Infrastructure, responsibility for drainage and sewage system and wastewater treatment management in Vietnam. Today, I would like to present to you our situation of the wastewater and drainage and sewage system in Vietnam. My presentation content is focused into the 4 issues. First is the background of the drainage and sewage system and wastewater treatment in Vietnam. And the second one is the institutional framework and policy. The third one is the challenges And the last one is the proposal solution. Next slide, please. For drainage and sewage system in Vietnam, mostly is a combined sewage system, around 92%, mainly in the big city in Vietnam. The coverage service shows only 60%. Mostly wastewater system and drainage sewage system is an old piping system, need to be upgrading and replacing by new one. And we are facing up with the problem of the drainage and urban flooding due to the heavy rain, sea level, and climate change. Flooding zones are still existing in most cities, such as Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City, and other cities which are located in the coastal area. Next slide, please. For the wastewater treatment plant, currently we just only more than 30 wastewater treatment plants, and in operating with the total capacity of the less than 1 million cubic meter per day, and less than 50% wastewater is treated before discharging into the environmental. And we are now building up about 40 wastewater treatment plants with total capacity only 1,600,000 cubic meter per day. And the wastewater influence BOD and COD concentration is still low because the combined system. We lack of the appropriate treatment technology. Here you can see the summary of the wastewater treatment are under operated in Vietnam. Next slide, please. Some of the picture about the wastewater treatment plant in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City. Next, please. In the Quảng Ninh and the Highland City, Buôn Mê Thuột. Next slide, please. It's another province, wastewater treatment plant and decentralization system. Next slide, please. For the industrial wastewater, and in Vietnam, total we have more than 200 industrial zones, and about the nearly 80% is operated with the wastewater treatment plant. For the master plan for drainage and sewage, we are established the amount catchment area such as the big river among Vietnam country. And the master plan for drainage and sewage also set up in each province. Next slide, please. Framework on policy, and we have a construction law, environmental protection law, water resources law, but for the wastewater law, we have this. But we have the degree, government degree on drainage and wastewater treatment, and we also submit to government for approval orientation on drainage and sewage and wastewater up to 2025 and Vision 2050. Under the government decree, we have a circular and standard and the technical economical norm and regulation at the local level. And for the orientation of drainage and sewage and wastewater up to 2025 and Vision 2050, and our principle for wastewater treatment plant is sanitation and wastewater treatment is safety, sustainable development of drainage and sewage system, and flooding mitigation and adapting to climate change. We also set up the National Investment Program to construct municipal wastewater treatment plant which located in the big city and among the catchment area. Next slide, please. In the government decree on drainage and sewage system, and we set up the wastewater tariff and policy on wastewater treatment investment for investor, and regulates on the owner of the sewage system and regulate on connection and recycling of the wastewater into the environment. Under the government decree, we have a circular to guideline the wastewater tariff and guideline another issue relevant to O&M, operating and management of wastewater after investing. Next slide, please. We are facing up with the problem relevant to financing because the demanding for the wastewater and drainage system is more than $2 billion per year. This is a figure from ADB Bank, but the funding from the state government for drainage system, both for domestic wastewater and stormwater, is not that meet a requirement. We are facing up with the problem of the climate change to impact and the current infrastructure and to make the flooding in the urban area. Next slide, please. For the human resource, we lack of the human resource on the operating and management of drainage and wastewater treatment plant. And for the technology of the wastewater treatment plant, and almost our wastewater treatment plant operating is under 50% of design capacity. And about 60% of the wastewater treatment plant are applying the activated sludge technology for wastewater treatment. And about 80% of new wastewater treatment plants are also applying the activated sludge technology. Therefore, with the choosing of the right technology is very necessary for us in order to make the investment more efficiency. Next slide, please. Facing up with many difficulties and the challenges, so the Vietnamese government and set many solutions in order to cover and step by step to upgrade the system on wastewater. Firstly is the blending on drainage and sewage system. And we reviewing on regulation on drainage system and wastewater treatment, and to establish an appropriate flooding management, to improve the role of equalization pond in flood mitigation, and to implement of the local regulation, dissemination of the government degree. And for investment wastewater treatment, we upgrading and construction wastewater treatment plant, including household piping connection, and we improvement of the wastewater tariff, and in order to enough the cost to cover for O&M costs. In terms of policy, we are increasing financing support from stakeholders and state, including ODA for drainage and sewage system, as well as wastewater treatment focusing on risk area, and multi-stakeholder international investment development and human resource development, application of innovators technology, looking forward to green technology and sustainable development. And one of the very important thing is the enhancement international cooperation. Thank you very much for your listening, and we are looking forward for comment from all you.
Sorry. Thank you very much.
Okay.
We are now moving forward to the presentation of Mr. Gavin Smith on energy market in Vietnam, focusing on solar. Thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me clearly. I will not take long to go through the high-level summary of where we are in the energy market, and I will focus more on the actual opportunity areas for European businesses. As Mr. T mentioned, I work for Dragon Capital. We are a private equity investment firm focused on renewable energy, energy efficiency, and also water. But today I'll focus on energy. And Mr. T also helpfully introduced the European Chamber of Commerce in Vietnam, EuroCham, and its specialist group called the Green Growth Sector Committee, which advocates for essential reforms in the energy market to promote the opportunities for the private sector. If you are a EuroCham member in Vietnam, or if you join any of the member states' business associations, you can also apply to join the Green Growth Sector Committee and have your views represented. Moving quickly to slide number 1, general overview. I have some more up-to-date information on the actual generation of power in Vietnam, including the 5 months to May this year, 2016, and you'll see that due to a number of external and internal factors, coal has become the largest source of energy generation in Vietnam by some considerable margin during this period. And trying to look a little bit further, what's the action plan for EVN, which is the state-owned power monopoly here? What's their plan in working with the private sector in the future? And it is indeed to, as you can see at the bottom of this slide, encourage private sector participation. It's rather general. We'd like to see that more specifically stated, of course. You will be allowed to tender for negotiated power purchase prices. It's an interesting new concept for creating greater transparency in application for power purchase agreements. Maintaining the dialogue with the private sector, well, we're attempting to do that through organizations like EuroCham. Implement a cost-based tariff, including a reasonable return on capital. Unhappily, that doesn't seem to be a priority that should be done right away, but we'll start in 2 years' time or maybe longer. And we'll come on to that in more detail, particularly when we look at the solar sector as an example. Implement full pass-through of non-manageable costs. Now, we assume that That refers to investors, developers, and supporters of new renewable energy projects, and we think that is an excellent idea. Non-manageable costs shouldn't fall on the project developer, particularly if they relate to things like the creditworthiness of the off-taker, who is the state monopoly, for example. That's not a project cost in our books. So, number 2, future opportunities. You can see some very large numbers there for RE potential, renewable energy potential. And indeed, there are resources available here in solar, wind, biomass, and small hydropower. The only real progress has been made by private investors and European companies has been in the small hydropower sector up until now. If you're a very large gas turbine manufacturer or a steam boiler manufacturer, then there are obviously other opportunities in both coal and in combined cycle gas plants, but those are very rare. The last one was executed in the north of Vietnam. I think it was finished construction about 3 years ago. Total project development cycle was over a decade. So we're advocating very strongly for small and medium-sized energy projects and energy efficiency investments to be made that would vastly diversify the energy mix here and create a much more sustainable energy market as a whole. However, current renewable energy generation is very small, and there are a number of reasons for that that Mr. T has already touched on. You'll see on the next slide the revised PDB 7, which was just updated a few months ago. This shows a very ambitious expansion of renewable energy and includes a new intervention, which is the planned introduction of an LNG terminal and LNG power generation facilities here, I think as a precursor to Vietnam developing further its own natural gas resources maybe later. We'll see. If you are an LNG company, this is obviously brand new and an interesting proposition in Vietnam. It's a critical part of the energy plan. The energy plan doesn't add up without that key LNG element. So it's absolutely critical to the secure future of the energy market here. At least 12 large BOT, which is build, own, operate, transfer model, whereby foreign investors are allowed to take the construction risk and operate for a specific period before transferring the asset to the government here, are being investigated, but there's some very in-depth and difficult contract negotiations going on before those BOT contracts can be finalized and begin construction. Not least that all of the state obligations here nearly always at least have to be guaranteed by the Ministry of Finance. The Ministry of Finance both has a capacity limitation on the number of guarantees it can now issue, even for key infrastructure projects like energy. And also the terms of any guarantee are a subject of much debate. International power developers, of course, specifically want to see very clear statements of the sovereign government's commitment to meet any financial obligations of the state-owned entities that are contracting, and the Ministry of Finance doesn't. So the lawyers are making a very happy time at the moment trying to work out that conundrum on these billion-dollar projects, many billion-dollar projects. At the moment, that's only leading to delay. Energy efficiency investment is indeed urgently required because Vietnam has one of the least efficient use of energy out of all of the ASEAN nations, which has been partly because of our history of very cheap, abundant hydro and coal power, where power prices were so cheap nobody cared about efficiency, and also about unclear picture in terms of where retail energy prices will go in the future. But we'll deal with that in a second. One huge area of investment is indeed upgrades to the transmission lines here in Vietnam. You'll see a number of foreign donor organizations providing huge levels of finances to take Vietnam's already extensive transmission line network into the 21st century. It covers 98% I think of the population now, which is an excellent result, one of the best in the region. However, it's also created a massive problem. With everyone connected to the grid and many people moving towards middle class income, That means the actual per capita unit power demand is rocketing. Everybody has a widescreen TV and air conditioning now, and because everyone's connected to the grid, that puts a massive load on the transmission grid to try and keep up with even a 12% annual inflation in demand. Hence, energy efficiency on the next slide is extremely important. It's a critical part of the master plan to 2030. Without this energy efficiency improvement, the master plan doesn't add up. Therefore, a coherent and consistent national plan for energy efficiency would be very, very useful. Energy efficiency here means energy management systems in large buildings, both commercial and industrial. Certainly opportunities for that. Waste heat recovery plants, as Mr. T mentioned, steel, cement, fertilizer plants, aqua processing here, aqua food processing are very large energy consumers, and there are great opportunities there to become more efficient. And many buildings with old or outdated or inefficient air conditioning chiller systems which need to be replaced. Certainly opportunities in that area. There is a big ambitious goal for the improvement in efficiency measured against units of GDP, and that's probably unachievable under the current market conditions, but we will certainly see an attempt to meet that by 2020. One of the key issues is the point at the bottom, which is that the Ministry has resisted calls so far to publish a roadmap which would tell us what future retail power prices might be, even within a range. So at the moment we have no foresight at all of what the future energy prices will be, either a month from now or a year or 5 years. With the current low energy prices and a history of subsidized energy costs here, where we're not paying full recovery of costs, of the cost of production, that puts people in a very difficult position when considering energy efficiency investments at the moment. A roadmap would set everybody straight, and clearly from any seasoned analysis that we see in the marketplace, the need to increase retail energy costs to balance the government books, to make EVN financially sustainable and to provide a stable energy market is absolutely urgent and essential. The World Bank's analysis of the energy market suggests that 10% retail energy price inflation for the next each year for the next 4 years is the most immediate and necessary step. Now we're just looking for someone authoritative in government to tell everybody that, and then these energy efficiency options will appear very investable indeed and will become quite urgent for major energy consumers if they wish to at least moderate the impact on their profits. And this does indeed contrast very, very starkly with what Mr. T mentioned earlier in relation to a roadmap of tariffs for water costs here, which have been published. And as a result, private investment has flowed into the water market. And we're getting to a state where we have sufficient water supply for all of Ho Chi Minh City. You know, financed partly through Vietnamese companies and partly through foreign companies who find that attractive and a defined marketplace where they can understand what their profit might be because there's a roadmap for tariffs. On the next page, you'll see some summary risks and mitigants, and you'll see me referring here to donors and donor-funded activities in these areas. Mr. T mentioned some of the multilateral agencies that provide financial support and development finance here. If you are listening in France or Germany, then you are the two last member states of the EU who provide direct development finance to the government of Vietnam. All other EU member states have pulled back from development finance and grant mechanisms because Vietnam's moving towards being a middle-income country. If you are in France and Germany, I would strongly suggest you take this page and show it to your government, because we would say that these are the key risks preventing you from doing business in Vietnam, and also the solutions on the same page. And if they're not, if your government's actions are not dealing with these issues and mitigating these risks, then we would strongly ask you to ask them what do they think they're adding that's actually positive and beneficial to your business interests and the development of the private sector here generally. we are obliged by law, if we connect our power generation, including solar, to the grid, to sell our energy to EVN. EVN is not creditworthy. You cannot raise project finance for your project if EVN is the customer unless there's a Ministry of Finance guarantee to support it. As we mentioned earlier, Ministry of Finance guarantees are extremely rare. Therefore, a donor-funded pool or risk pool would be an ideal way to take out that risk and allow projects to develop. Regulatory impediments, there's a whole raft of ways in which the government seeks to control access to the energy market. We would suggest that business-to-business or direct power sales should be allowed, whereby a power producer, us, who generates energy, could sell it to an end user who wants to buy that particular type of energy, a more free market approach. That's being resisted at the moment. And if you look at the solar rooftop, the current draft decision that's been under consultation for some time imposes a capacity limit on rooftop solar, above which you must ask the central energy regulator body for a license. We think that that's unnecessary, and it unnaturally penalizes solar power projects, because the current limit is that you only need a license if you have a power plant of 3 megawatts or more. We think that that should be applied consistently across all energy resources, including solar. Low power cost. Indeed, as I mentioned before, the current power costs here to retail customers are the lowest in the ASEAN region. That isn't going to be the case in the near future. We need someone to tell the market that. There are lack of transparent processes and the threat of corruption, and that has driven many companies out of Vietnam over the last decade that I've been here. And I think what we really need is quickly to publish clear regulations and approval processes, no preferential route, no external route to the general market, and no invitation to do bilateral negotiations with particular ministries. And we should have a flat, open structure market here. I know that sounds very sort of theoretical and ambitious, but that's what attracts investors. Clear processes, transparent regulations, and markets which seem where if you're the most efficient or the most cost-effective, you will succeed. That's all we're asking for. And this is particularly relevant to solar right now, where there is a draft decision that's been circulated amongst the government and the donor agencies mainly. It hasn't really been subject to proper consultation, but Eurocham recently published a survey of solar experts' opinion of the draft decision in order to get the private sector's viewpoint heard, and that will be on the Eurocham website later this week, I hope. Conflicts of interest is a major problem with EVN being so dominant in the market. It is 100% of energy distribution. It's at least 60% of power generation. It owns the transmission lines, and the energy regulator is not independent of the government either. And the key issue here, and this could be an opportunity for some of you who are investors in energy assets, that the sale of state non-core assets has to be finalized urgently. Final page, talk about the Solar Hub in particular. Solar Hub is a concept that Dragon Capital created along with the Ho Chi Minh City government's Energy Conservation Center, and it's intended to do three things. It's to provide accurate information to the whole market. That's solar rooftop buyers, suppliers, investors, legal advisors, and consultants about the current solar resource that's available here in Vietnam, the costs, benefits, and processes that support solar power. Now, at the moment, we don't have any measure of government regulation of this sector. So at present, the current solar market would be constrained to rooftop installations for own consumption by a power consumer. But that still creates some significant opportunities here, since there are a lot of rooftops. There are some huge manufacturing facilities here who would like to have solar. They're a little bit confused about how to do this, and we hope that Solar Hub will help them. The second goal for Solar Hub is to interpret the current draft decision and any laws and regulations that come from that could be enacted during 2016, and to try to explain those to the marketplace. And the third is to provide advocacy to support Ho Chi Minh City government, who have been actually quite creative and supportive in trying to generate solar PV within the city limits and within the 3 industrial surrounding provinces of Binh Duong, Dong Nai and Long An. And you know, maybe the solution here is on a regional basis. Maybe cities and regions who really want solar and who are willing to support it can create their own mechanisms and support, you know, similar to the situation in the US where there's no federal solar law, but 49 US states have created their own solar net metering and export regulations. So maybe that's the way forward, and the Solar Hub is intended to help promote that. We do this with the support of the UK Foreign and Commonwealth Office, and the project starts last week. So you'll start to see resources appear. We will link into some of the other business organizations like Eurocham, like EVBN, so that you can access our information for Solar Hub through their portals as well. In terms of the immediate prospects, and there's been a frenzy of press reports about solar marketplace here in Vietnam. You know, press reports, I've got to say here, are not reliable predictors of what's going to happen next. So groundbreaking ceremonies, the issue of investment licenses, the signing of MOUs is nice, but it will not create the level of investment in real terms, particularly those of you who are investors who have to put your risk equity in. You know that an MOU is not a green light for everyone to invest safely. It's merely the precursor to that. And that's what we've seen. We've been through effectively the pre-development stage now, and now the analysis is going on. And hopefully at the end of that analysis period, everyone will be able to understand what the real prospects are here. And right now, I would, if you ask me on the current draft decision and the current investment laws and the current risks within the energy market, that solar rooftop definitely has a positive and key role to play in the development of the energy market here. Grid-connected, ground-mounted solar looks uneconomic and uninvestable under the current draft regulations. And we've yet to see a developer, investor who would leave the markets of Thailand, the Philippines or Bangladesh to come to Vietnam instead. Now, I hope with our advocacy and our pressure to reduce the risks in the marketplace, particularly with the aid perhaps of the French and German governments and other donors, we might be able to change that situation. As it currently stands, solar rooftop looks like the only way forward. That's it.
Thank you very much, Gavin. I will just lose a few words on who we are as EVBN. EVBN, or the EU-Vietnam Business Network, is a project that is co-funded by the European Union and has started in late 2013. Our main objective is to strengthen the EU business sector in Vietnam, and in particular by supporting European small and medium-sized enterprises to seek business opportunities here. Our main target group, therefore, are European companies and mainly and primarily small and medium-sized enterprises who have an interest in Vietnam as well as the region, as we are, as you can see on the map, quite embedded in a network of similar projects in the whole ASEAN region. I'm not going to lose many words about this. We do offer general business support services to companies like market studies, pre-market consultations, partner search, etc. You will find more information on this on our website, of course. We have also, what you will also find on our website is a wide range of reports and market studies that we have commissioned and produced. The latest, certainly Vietnam Economy Report, the latest from 2016, but we also have a report on green technology, for example. In addition to that, for companies who have already taken the first step into entering the Vietnamese market, we do have the opportunity for you to set up office here. So we do have a business incubator or a business center with very reasonably priced small offices where you are surrounded by, as Gavin pointed out many times, by Eurocham and other national chambers as well as EVBN. I don't think we need to focus on this for today. What I would like to focus on for today is our offer in terms of green technologies. We are going into the second edition of a trade mission to Vietnam in the sector of green technologies in November, from November 8th to 11th this year. This is interesting for European companies in the sectors of energy efficiency, renewable energies, water management and waste management. It will include an EU pavilion on a fair, Wastewater fair, and the co-located event Renewable Energies and Energy Efficiency. We invite European companies to come to Vietnam, and what they will get, or what you will get, is the opportunity to have a 3-day exhibition at the mentioned fair, organized B2B meetings with potential business partners, information sessions with experts such as the ones we listened to today, the opportunity to organize and take part in conferences during the exhibition, and of course lots of opportunities for networking, as well as accommodation and so on. More information and more detailed information can be found on our website, www.evbn.org. This is an offer for companies that have not entered the Vietnamese market yet. In addition to that, we would also like to offer something to companies that have already entered the Vietnamese market and are already based here, European companies already present in Vietnam. So also for you, we have a package that we would like to offer, meaning you can partake in our EU pavilion at the Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency exhibition. You will also have the opportunity to partake in organized conferences and of course network with those companies coming here and with everyone else on the exhibition. If you have more questions about this, you can get in touch with us. Just for your information, this is the fair floor plan. As you can see, this is the fair Wastewater, and in the middle of it will be our EU pavilion on the co-located event, Renewable Energies and Energy Efficiencies. And to show you that we have been doing this before, and we had a very successful Green Technologies Trade Mission in 2015. You can see a few impressions, a few pictures on this slide. And what I would like to share with you is that we do have very good experience with that. Companies that have participated in this event have indeed found very good business opportunities in Vietnam. We have various good examples and success stories that you can also find on our website. But we have companies that have set up office here now, that have entered into partnerships and so on. So it's a great opportunity to get to know about the Vietnamese market and meet potential partners. I thank you very much, and if you have any questions for that, you can get in touch with us. And now we would like to move very quickly to our Q&A session, questions that have reached us. And the first question I would like to pose to Ms. Hong, as it has to do with the water sector. The question is on what are the plans in Vietnam to develop wastewater treatment?
Thank you for your question. So I would like to reply to your question as follows. In terms of policy, so we will establish and review all the master plan in each local level, each province. And for implementing, so we will implement orientation of government on wastewater and drainage system, and we build up the investment wastewater program. As you know that for wastewater coverage service in Vietnam just only under 15% of demanding. Therefore, we need to continue focus to build up the wastewater system and wastewater treatment plant in all the 63 province in Vietnam. This is our plan. For the more detail, so we will provide you if you need any more detail on this.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hong, for this answer and also for the opportunity for people to ask more questions via us. Thank you very much. I have another question that I would like to pose to Mr. T. The question is, what kind of opportunities do you see for that Vietnamese companies can offer to Eastern European, in this case, particularly Romanian companies? What kind of partnership opportunities do you see?
Thank you for the question, but actually I need to know what kind of Romanian company working about. But like our sector focus on water and energy, so I believe the local company can be like the local partner for networking, and then business entry for the European and especially Romanian company in this sector, because local company here is very strong and knowledgeable about the market and the business opportunities, so they will play a very important role for market entry to this company.
Thank you very much, Mr. T. I have a question for Gavin as well. Should be an easy question for you. Can you can you provide us with the sales price of electricity per kilowatt hour?
No, but I can tell you how complex it is. Firstly, because if you're talking about the retail sales cost of energy, so how much will you pay for energy as a consumer? Well, that is calculated based on 3 different hourly tariffs for 3 major groups of consumers. So there are already 9 variables in terms of what the daily cost of energy is at the retail end of the marketplace. Unfortunately, the wholesale cost of energy, i.e. what producers sell, what cost the producers sell the energy to EVN at, is even more complex and could easily fill a whole presentation just to describe the variety of different power purchase agreements over the long term, up to 25 years, 30 years, Mr. T. You can get a long-term PPA at a fixed, more or less a fixed price, 20 years plus. And then there are for different types of power generation, whether that be gas, coal, big hydro, small hydro. There's a whole variety of power purchase agreements and prices. And one of the difficulties in entering this market is just understanding what price you might be paid in, and indeed whether indeed that's in the local currency, which is subject to depreciation, which might be subject to limitations in terms of convertibility and exportability, or indeed whether you're paid in the local currency but that is indexed to the US dollar price, which is fixed. Now, the good news for renewable energy power developers is that the government does offer a standardized power purchase agreement at a Vietnam Dong payment price, which is indexed to the US dollar. So for solar and wind, you may, solar PPA yet to be published, but we understand in the draft that you effectively will be paid in an amount fixed to the US dollar, thereby avoiding the devaluation of currency risk, which is very substantial. That's the best news there is, and I'm afraid, in relation to PPAs. As I mentioned before, generally the government has had the choice of very cheap energy resources in the past. That is changing rapidly, but the government's attitude to offering PPAs has yet to catch up with that change, and therefore generally the power purchase price offered to power developers is lower than you would like.
Okay.
That's about 5% of the answer, I'm afraid, but it's the best I can do in the time available.
Thank you, Gavin. There's one more question that I would like to pose to the panel here. Is there a plan to generate power from other sources different from solar, like biomass, in terms of waste to energy?
Yeah, biomass is also recently setting high target for development in the revised power development plan, and not officially about waste to energy, but some recent project or proposal from investor or a donor like GIZ or some key player in waste to energy investment into the market in Vietnam. We can see very high potential for waste to energy in Vietnam, because currently only 10% of the waste is treated by a sustainable manner, and 90% of the total waste is just landfilling. So with that situation, there are very high potential to invest in waste to energy, because recently the government already issued the supporting mechanism for investment in waste to energy project, and that supporting mechanism set very high and the highest feed-in tariff so far for renewable energy, with 10.8 US cent per kilowatt hour for waste to energy, and also another revenue stream for waste to energy project is coming from the tipping fee. So waste to energy, I believe, could be a very high potential investment sector in Vietnam.
Thank you, T. There's one more question that I would like to answer. The question is, apart from Vietnam, will there be any trade mission or interest to other ASEAN regions, for example, Myanmar, Philippines, Malaysia, and so on? This is something that we will surely investigate with our colleagues and make sure to also cross-post any events in the region on our website. I would really like to thank everyone for the active participation. We have a lot of questions, and we will not be able, looking at the time, to answer all of them. I would encourage everyone to please send us these questions via email, and we will get back to you for sure. We also kindly ask everyone to fill out the survey at the end of the webinar for us to learn from it. And we will, of course, share all the slides and the recording of the webinar on our website. We thank you very much for your attention, and